What's up, runners? I'm gonna run through as quick as possible my favorite running specific stretches. And ideally, when you do these stretches, this is after you've run or after you've warmed up. Unless you have some kind of an injury that you're overcoming, you would want to do maybe some stretching before you run. But typically, you want to only do longer stretching when you're done with your aerobic activity. It actually can prevent injury this way. So I always start with my foam roller. So we're gonna run through the foam roller stuff pretty quick because it's in a separate video. I have more details about how to do it. But what the foam roller does is it will help the muscles actually stretch underneath the fascia. I highly recommend the foam roller if you are tight to help you stretch a little deeper. And I'm just gonna run through a quick routine with the foam roller before I get into the deeper running stretches. So I always start in a vertical position, just reminding myself of my good posture and feeling, the muscles on either side of my spine and getting a little massage actually with some compression. So I'm gonna round my shoulders a little bit and then stretch my arms overhead. And be sure your posture is good, meaning your chin is in. I don't want your head looking straight up. You want to get a good stretch in the back of your neck and practice your arms moving around the clock and your elbows bent like goalposts. Then you also want to think about pulling your belly button in and making sure your low back is touching, and reach one more time for that good long stretch. Then I'm gonna move to my horizontal stretch with the foam roller, warming up the spine, rolling back and forth a couple times. And again, I'm warm. I've already been running, so you don't really wanna do this on a cold before you stretch, right? So before you do the foam roller, you wanna make sure that you're warm. Your muscles are, not cold because you can actually end up pulling a muscle. So here I'm just starting in the middle of my back and working my way towards my neck. Trying to get some space between each vertebrae and stretching and breathing and thinking about my mobility and my posture, taking nice deep belly breaths. Good, and while I'm here, you can get into your lats a little bit if your shoulders are tight. Whatever the case is, kind of make it intuitive as far as how you're gonna use the foam roller to help you stretch a little bit deeper. Okay, we're gonna get to the deeper stretches now. And if you have a tight low back, you can actually also use the foam roller to loosen up your low back, but be careful and let pain be your guide. Okay, so I have this underneath my tailbone, and I'm pulling one knee to my chest, feeling a good stretch in my hip flexor, right? And then I can do both legs at the same time and really get a low back rounding, and it feels so good to stretch those muscles. And then feet on the floor and doing a few windshield wiper mobility moves. All the while keeping those good deep belly breaths happening. So we're gonna start, is it filming? So we're gonna start with your feet, right? So your feet, we talked about the importance of the strength of your feet. Well, your mobility in your feet are equally as important. So I love to put my fingers between my toes and really spread my toes apart. It's really important to have really wide toe box and nice, mobile, supple feet. So if you're finding that your feet are not very supple, you need to do some work. Pulling your big toe back and forth, twisting, and really kind of just massaging the feet and getting some circulation in there can really, really make a big difference on your running, believe it or not. So I would do that on both feet, and then I would go into a deeper big toe stretch. This is great for if you have plantar fascia, but you want to think about really spreading your toes out. Okay, and sitting here on your ankles for up to a minute, but you have to be careful here because you can actually overstretch. But this is great mobility for your big toe. When you run properly, you want to toe off on your big toe, and if you don't have the mobility, it can actually lead you to foot strike or toe off improperly. So it's really important to be able to do this stretch. So it's something you want to practice and really mobilize those feet. And then after you've been here for a minute, you can kind of relax them, shake them out a little bit, and then point your toes away. And this stretch is actually better for swimming, but it's a great relief stretch from that toe extension stretch. Okay, so having really flexible quads and hips are so important in running. And most people from sitting all day are super duper tight. So the minimum for my athletes is in this position with my forehead resting on my arm, I want you to be able to reach back and grab your ankle, even the top of your toes, and be able to touch your heel to your butt. If you cannot do this, this is the minimum that you need to work on. From here, you can extend the stretch by pushing your foot into your hand and then relaxing and pulling your heel to your butt. It's an awesome stretch. And notice that my hip bone is still touching the ground the entire time I'm pulling my heel to my butt, and my knees are close to each other. My knee is not coming out to the side. I'm also getting an additional chest stretch through my pec. So now we're gonna flip over and stretch the hamstring, the back of the legs, right? So this is a stretchy band, but if ideally you have one that doesn't stretch, but you're gonna start with your opposite knee bent as a beginner, and your toes are pointed towards your nose, and ideally the leg is as straight as possible, right? And you're going to gently resist with your hands as your foot pushes into the band, and I can already feel a stretch. And as I want to increase the stretch, I start to pull my foot towards my head, and ideally you're keeping that nice soft bend in your knee, so I'm not completely locked out. I can do that for a little while, but you want to play with the different ways you're stretching your hamstring, which extends all the way from the knee to your glute, right? So you can play with it, you can play with your foot position, turn your toes out, turn your toes in, but try to keep a little resistance the entire time, you know, pushing your foot into the band to really feel that deep stretch. Then you can immediately drop into your hip flexor stretch on the side, get your fore stretch. There's a lot of different names for this one. If you can't get your foot off the ground, that would be where we would aim for. And then you'd want to do the same thing on either side. Okay, so definitely want to include my upper back in this stretching post running, especially just to relieve some posture. So lying on my side, knees at a 90-degree angle, my hands right out in front of my chest, my fingertips are even. If one hand is in front of the other, you know my shoulders are not square. And then my head is just resting gently on the ground. If you can, you're gonna pull your shoulder down so there's some space there. And you're gonna gently just drag your fingertips across the top of your arm, grab your forehead, and rotate away as you're twisting and breathing. Now the key to this stretch is making sure that your knees do not come apart, okay? So your knees are staying together, you're kind of, arching your back a little bit and looking towards your opposite arm. And you wanna hold this stretch for about a minute to really feel the full effects. And you can change the angle of your arm to get a deeper stretch as you feel like you are loosening up. And again, always nice, deep belly breaths through the nose. You can even do some wrist circles. But really enjoy the stretch. It feels so, so, so good. So staying here on your mat, post-run, you're gonna just rock your hips side to side. Really have good posture here, shoulders back and down, chest out. And then you're gonna gently inhale as you straighten your arms out, press your hands into the floor. Try to release your glutes and exhale down. Great low back and psoas stretch. Feels really, really good. And then from here you can push up into your hands and knees, round and arch your back, round, exhale, and then inhale as you arch. Think about getting as much space between every single vertebrae as you can. Inhale, arch. You can reverse the breathing, it doesn't really matter. And then finally coming to your big toes touching each other, sitting on your ankles, walking your hands out as far as you can, and just resting on the floor. Nice deep belly breaths. You can put your arms by your side and just say a little bit of gratitude for your body, for your awesome body and all it's done for you to help you run fast and get strong. So we're gonna finish up with a quick little calf and hamstring additional stretch. Pedal your feet side to side. Take a look towards your belly button. Keep the breathing up. You can play with your stretching. Do whatever feels good. Make it intuitive. And walk your hands back towards your feet. Slowly roll up. Take a nice deep breath in. And we're gonna take a nice bend to the side. Inhale up. Bend to the side. Inhale up. Great job, you guys. Stretching is such an essential component of fitness and especially running. So be sure to spend at least 5 to 10 minutes. That was a super quick stretch session that I include after every single run. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and let me know if there's anything you need specific help with. Wishing you well, Coach Erin.